Art in the Center. A visit to the art school of the Society of Arts and Crafts with your host, Jerry Blocker.
Good evening. You're looking at a part of Detroit's cultural center. In this area of the city, you'll find the Detroit Institute of Arts, the Detroit Historical Museum, the Detroit Main Library, and Wayne State University. And at the end of this street is the Art School of the Society of Arts and Crafts. The school, which has been training students since 1926, is currently in the process of expanding. In 1926, they occupied this building on Watson Street. In 1958, they moved to this location on East Kirby. This is the Yamasaki building, which until a few months ago housed the entire art school. Now this impressive building, over $7 million worth of concrete, brick, and glass, has been added to the campus of the Art School of the Society of Arts and Crafts. The art school is privately funded and independently operated, and this magnificent addition by supporters of the school is a demonstration of their confidence in the future of the city of Detroit and the arts. Although this institution began in 1926, it may still most correctly be referred to as an emerging institution of higher learning. We'll talk more about that as we go along. In just a moment, we'll be inside the school to meet the school's director, Walter Meidner. We're now in the Yamasaki building here on campus, and this is Mr. Walter Meidner, who is the director of the Art School of the Society of Arts and Crafts. Mr. Meidner, we understand you're about to undergo a name change.
Yes, we are going to change our name from the Art School of the Society of Arts and Crafts to Center for Creative Studies, College of Art and Design.
All right. Now, can you tell us what the school is all about?
The school is educating students in the fine arts and crafts and design. We have 5 departments in these disciplines: fine arts, crafts, photography, advertising design, and industrial design. And then we had the 6th department is the general studies department.
Can we have a tour?
We shall be delighted to accommodate you.
All righty.
Being a sculptor myself, it is a special pleasure to introduce you to our sculpture studio and to its instructor and head of the sculpture department, Jay Holland.
Mr. Holland, my pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure, Mr. Blocker.
Can you tell us basically what goes on in the sculpture department?
Well, in this particular area, the students are making a 1/3 scale study from a live model. Particular emphasis here is a precise rendition of the anatomy and all the naturalistic features. Such a standing pose requires an armature made of aluminum supported by a pipe, as you might see here. You can see some of the wire emerging. It is very essential to make this very exact, because if the position of the wire is incorrect, the piece is impossible to do. And it is very difficult for students to do, since most of them are doing it for the first time.
They are beginning students?
Most of them are. There are some with previous experience, but many of them are beginning students.
Now, what happens in the more advanced classes, or does it get any more advanced?
Oh, yes, it gets more advanced. The students do more interpretive work, and we, you might say, graduate to welding, bronze casting, working directly in plaster, some stone carving on occasion, practically any of the media that are available today.
How many students do you have enrolled in your area?
I think we have about 32 in this class. Fortunately, they don't all come at the same time.
So they come throughout the day or throughout the week?
Most of them come 3 times a week. Some come in the afternoon, some come in the morning. And of course, our evening classes too. That's another batch of students.
Your evening students now, are those students that come in the evening more apt to be just coming for the one type course? Are they involved in the total curriculum as well?
Few of them are involved in more than modeling. Some go beyond that, but it's rare. Most of them have limited time to devote to sculpture, and so their interest lies mostly in modeling. They don't go beyond it.
Thank you very much, Mr. Holland. It's a pleasure to have visited your sculpture studio here. Mr. Meidner, where to we next?
The next part is going to be in the ceramics department. Jerry, I want you to meet the instructor of the ceramics department, Maxwell Davis, and his student, Gary Tonemaker.
My pleasure to meet you both. Mr. Davis, can you tell us basically where we are in the ceramic process?
Well, here we're starting with Gary on the wheel. here at Arts and Crafts we have wheel work and we have hand building, and we also teach glaze and kill firing. So we start students out working mainly with clay, and the advanced people then get into glaze and kills. So we have Gary starting on the wheel, and we start them out throwing cylinders and work their way up to vases or other types of pottery, whatever they're interested in.
How long would it take for him to finish this particular piece?
Well, this piece, usually a student works on an average, say, from anywhere 5 to 15 minutes on the wheel for this piece, but the piece to be completed can take up to, say, 2 weeks for it to dry out and be fired and glazed.
Are most of your students in the beginning process, or do they range all over the place in terms of degree of expertise?
Well, in our classes we have beginning students with advanced students, so that hopefully the beginning students can learn from the advanced people. And we try to work more of a community kind of a feeling here in the classroom.
All right, we have a student with some finished products, and we'd like to talk to her. This is a student that we were referring to, Karen McDougall. Karen, how long have you been a student here?
About 2 years.
All right, we saw some of the early parts of putting the ceramics together and all. What happens when it gets towards the end process?
Well, after a piece is thrown on the wheel, it has to completely dry out, and then it's fired in a bisque firing that takes it up so that all the moisture is out of the piece, and then it is glazed and high fired.
How long does all this take?
Quite a while. Usually my pieces, I spend about 2 months from beginning to end before it's done.
All right, now that you finished the piece, how do you just keep it yourself? Do you sell it, or what do you do?
Sometimes I keep it. The pieces that I like the best, I want to hang on to, but I do try to sell my pieces also.
What kind of market do you have? What kind of outlet?
Well, through student shows, fairs, and independent galleries, things like that.
Is there much of a demand?
Well, not a whole lot, but there is some.
You pretty much have to go after it in your own way, then.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Karen. Now, Walter, where is the next place that we'll be heading?
These are the tanks, and we are in the glass forming studio. Jerry, meet Herb Babcock, the instructor.
My pleasure to meet you, Mr. Babcock. Can you tell us, sir, what kind of things go on here in your glass blowing studio, glass forming studio?
Yeah, well, this is known as all-pan glass blowing. It was, in reality, the original form of making glass utensils. And we sort of revived the whole system again, only on a studio basis, where we have a small tank of glass, anywhere from 150 pounds to 300 pounds of molten glass. And we use the blowpipes, which we make our gathers on, and then proceed to make the bubbles and enlarge the bubbles, transfer it to punny rods, which is a solid rod, and then finish off the form by opening it up, more or less in utilitarian form. But also, besides making utilitarian forms, we also do a lot of experimentation as far as making art forms, or what you'd call sculptural forms.
Now, in terms of your students, do they range all the way from the beginning student, say, to the very experienced student, or how do you do it?
Yeah, from the beginning to the very advanced. It takes a while to get on to glass blowing because timing is of the essence. You're working with a very molten fluid glass, and it usually takes anywhere from, well, a very lucky person can catch on in half a year. And it usually takes 3 to 4 years before you become rather proficient at it.
What about the outlet? What kind of market do you have for these art objects that you blow here?
Well, the greatest outlet so far has been the art fairs, the galleries is the larger next step, and then the museum would be the end result, of course.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Babcock. We certainly appreciate your description here. A very unique kind of place indeed, very picturesque.
We're here in the Fabric Design Studio, and this is instructor Susan Aaron Taylor. Can you tell us what's going on in back of us?
Well, right now we're in the midst of having a critique. This is a basketry class, and we're doing fetish baskets, which are to bring about a happening, a positive happening. And right now we're going over the work and talking about it and telling them how they can do better or what's good about it.
What's that lady doing over there?
Oh, Chris is working at one of our floor looms, and she's working on a tapestry. And she's working very hard on this. It's taken her all semester to do this, and hopefully she'll be done by next week.
What are some of the other things that you do here?
Well, we do printmaking, fabric printmaking, such as silk screening and block printing, and we do batiking, and other off-loom techniques, such as fabric construction and found looms, things like this.
Here we are in the main painting studio.
What kind of things go on here, Mr. Mark?
Well, right now the students are working from the model, and as you can see, some of the paintings are more representational, others are, for others the model serves as the point of departure, and the students are ending up in a more abstracted style.
Mr. Miner, what about the kind of student that is here in the studio?
Right now there's a class in intermediate painting. However, this studio is also used for beginners painting and for advanced painting. They paint in all kinds of media, in oil, acrylic, collages, and so on. And you will see that there are here also quite a number of abstract paintings.
We are now in the metal crafts department, and this is Mr. Michael Vicini, who is the senior instructor. Mr. Vicini, can you tell us, what do you do down here?
Well, in this area, we do jewelry making, enameling, and preparing work to be cast in our other sections.
Can you kind of give us a step-by-step process as to some of the things that's going on?
Yes, we have students here are working on patterns in wax and directly in metal towards a ring or a brooch or a pendant or a belt buckle, whatever the item might be. And this is accomplished in this area here if it's a piece of jewelry.
Mm-hmm. Now, what's the time that it usually takes a student to come up with a piece of art?
Well, it depends on the complexity of the idea, of the concept, and of the piece of work. And it can be a week or two or a whole semester.
How much time do the students actually spend in your department?
Well, we have 3-hour studio periods, and they are required to take 6 hours a semester or more.
So that's 6 hours a week that they're actually in the
At a minimum, yes.
Okay, now that's one area. Now you got another area, the metal smithing, I think you call it?
Yes, it is, which is behind us here,
right.
Yes.
Now, can you tell us about that? That's a lot of noise is going on in there. How come?
Well, they're glorified blacksmiths, really, and we work generally with the non-ferrous or non-iron metals, copper, pewter, silver, and brasses, and etc. And it's done with hammers and simple irons, as you might see later on.
Now, when a student finishes in terms of this specialty, what does that allow him to do when he's done?
Well, hopefully he's an accomplished goldsmith and metalsmith, and if he concentrates in a particular area, whether it's metalsmithing or jewelry making, then he is versed in that and perhaps can contribute to.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vicini. And we'll be back to visit the new facility of the Art School of Society of Arts and Crafts in just a moment.
Well, Jerry, here you see our new buildings. In the north, you see the Kresge Ford Fine Arts Building, which will house painting, sculpture, with its new foundry and graphic arts. In the south, you see our Industrial Arts Building, which will house photography, industrial design, advertising design. And here we are in the Industrial Design Studio. Jerry, I want you to meet the chairman of the Industrial Design Department, Del Coates.
A pleasure to meet you, Mr.
Hi,
Coates.
Jerry. Same here.
Looking around this room, it looks like you got a very active department.
Yeah, we do. You can see the various kinds of products that we get into. Of course, we have consumer products in this room, and automobiles, environments, and graphic products as well. And our students study here through a 4-year program leading to a BFA degree, as other departments in the school. And the work you see in this room represents all 4 years.
Now, judging from what we see here, Mr. Coates, is there any one aspect that you emphasize more than others?
We try not to, but we are pretty well known for our automotive design students because we're in Detroit. I suppose the consumer product line would come second, but we try to emphasize all 5 areas pretty equally.
You seem to have the whole range, the whole gamut of all industries, right?
Well, right. Industrial designers do work in all industries, commercial and industrial. And we try to produce a student here that is generally qualified to work anywhere.
What we hear, your students are well qualified. Thank you so much for the quick tour.
Thank you, Jerry.
Well, here we are on the 3rd floor.
This whole third floor is devoted to advertising design.
Mr. DeMeitner, this is quite a building, a beautiful piece of architecture.
I am delighted you like it. The architect is William Kessler, Associates of Detroit. And Jerry, now I would like you to meet the chairman of the advertising design department, Paul Tripp.
My pleasure, Mr. Tripp. Tell us what goes on here.
Well, this is where we take kids straight out of high school and within 4 years, hopefully train them to be able to compete in the advertising field as illustrators, designers, and these days art directors.
Judging from the displays that you have around your rooms here and all, are there various areas of specialization?
Well, some get into illustration, more I think get into design, and these days, hopefully, more are getting into art direction. We're teaching that as a separate course now.
In other words, Mr. Tripp, you're aiming for all of these students to be able to come out and get a job.
That's exactly right.
And what areas, where will they actually get these jobs?
Within studios and agencies. Occasionally, some will go into freelance straight out of school, but the majority of them will work for agencies and studios within the Detroit and metropolitan area.
Do some of the students have more talent than others, or do they all end up the same way?
They come with various stages of talent, but hopefully at the end of 4 years, we've all brought them to the level where they can get out and compete in a very competitive field.
It's a very interesting department. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
We're in a very special section of the art school, and here is Norita Fricker to tell us what it's all about.
Morning, Jerry. How are you today?
Fine.
Welcome to the Saturday morning children's classes
Glad
at
to be
Arts
here.
and Crafts. I'd like to introduce you to Penny Fleming. She handles the 3-dimensional end of the class. I handle all of the 2-dimensional work. And between us, we fill up the children's 3 hours on Saturday morning from 9 till 12. And the classes run 15 weeks, and there are 2 of them a year, 2 entire sessions.
We noticed that you don't call it the children's workshop.
No, that's because the ages are so varied. They range from 7 through 17, and some of the older people just don't like being referred to as children, so we say youth. That makes everybody happy.
All right, we'd like to talk with some of your happy artists here, and so we'll do that at this time. This is 8-year-old Andrew Wise. Andrew, what are you working on?
A picture of the whale
And where is the whale?
in the middle of the ocean.
And what do you like to do best here at the youth workshop?
Draw things like this whale.
And what is your name?
Christy Reckenbiel,
How old are you, Christy?
11.
And can you tell us what that wonderful painting is that you're now rendering?
It's an acrylic dragon. It's like a Chinese dragon, and I don't know, I started it around 3 weeks ago.
How long do you think it's going to take you to finish?
Well, this is my last time I'm going to finish it, so this is my last time.
And this is 11-year-old Stacy McLean. Stacy, what are you working on?
Ceramic sculpture.
And what is your piece of art going to be when it's all completed?
A pop can.
Is it going to look somewhat similar to this right here?
Yes.
How long have you been attending the youth school?
For 15 weeks.
And what do you like best about it?
The drawing.
And do you intend to become an artist someday?
Yes.
Well, thank you very much, Stacy. At the other end of this studio is the basic design department, and that's our next stop. And this is basic design, and we're going to talk to the gentleman who teaches the class, Bill Fricka. Bill, what are you doing with all those pieces of straw there?
Well, this is one of the first problems we give the students, and it's a problem in structure. And it's really not engineering style, it's intuitive structure. They have to take some soda straws and build a structure 8 feet high. Hopefully they can do that and get it to stand self-supporting. As you can see by some of the other straws around, that not all of them are successful in this. It's not an easy problem. This happens to be a very unique solution to it, that they made a collapsible structure. And it will balance and hold up if you play around with it for a while. We also go into many other things besides structure. We study composition, go into 2-dimensional things, 3-dimensional studies. We do a lot of things in different materials, plexiglasses, paper, metal materials, any material we can think of at the time, and adjust it to the student and hope he can come up with some creative solutions. These are basic courses. Every student has to take
Every
these
student
courses.
has to take the
Every
basic
student has to
design.
take the basic design class, yes, right. As frustrated as they may be doing it, I don't know. We have a lot of fun. There's some very interesting solutions in here. I think you can see around the room there are quite a few different
Indeed we
solutions.
can. Thank you very much, Bill. And now from basic design to photography.
And now, Jerry, we are here in the finishing area of the photography department, and I want you to meet the chairman of this department, Bob Vigiletti.
My pleasure to meet you, Mr. Vigiletti. Judging from some of the pictures that we've been able to see walking around your studios here, you have a pretty detailed curriculum. Can you explain?
Yeah, we have a very broad program, I think. We encompass photography both as an applied art and as a fine art. And we offer courses that are general and some that are very specific in color and black and white. We include cinematography and a lot of commercial aspects and a lot of photography, a lot of interest nowadays in photography as a fine art itself.
Do your students go from here and get jobs in magazines and newspapers and all kinds of things of that nature, or what?
Well, that's the intent, yes. We have several people in the city and even in Canada now who are former students of ours working in the commercial field, and others who are pursuing photography on their own as a personal expression.
We notice that you have some very elaborate dark rooms. Can you explain about those?
Well, they're brand new and they're very nice. We're just starting to work in them now, and it's excellent equipment and laid out in a fashion that's very functional, and I think they're going to be a pleasure to work in for the students.
What are some of the other things in your department that you work with?
We work with photography. We branch over into the graphics sometimes. Working with etching, and we do some sound recording, and hopefully we'll get into some photomechanical reproductions too.
With me now are a group of students representing various departments here at the art school. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
I'm Larry Toit. I'm in the industrial design department.
Roger Elmer, I'm a photography student.
Jim Stafford in sculpture. Carlos Ford, photo.
Kerry Stefani, metalcraft major.
Okay, gentlemen, let me ask you this question. What makes the art school different from other institutions of learning as far as you're concerned?
Well, I think it's more individually geared to one person at a time, not like a big classroom, I'd say.
Well, you do have a lot of good facilities, and the faculty is more knowledgeable in the field of art than any other place around.
Okay.
In the industrial design department, it's important to be on top of all the technological changes. And the instructors here are practicing professionals, which means they know about all these changes.
I think at arts and crafts you learn a lot from your students too. You know, you're bombarded by all their work and you can ask some questions. It's just not learning from your teachers.
Mm-hmm. Finally?
Yeah, I think the facilities in the metal shop are good, and with the new building, they'll be doubling their space that they have now, which will make it much easier to work.
Thank you very much. We'll be back with an exhibit representing all departments in just a moment. And here we are at the art exhibit. Can you explain to us, Mr. Meidner, what we're looking at?
We're looking at samples of the finished products of every department in the school. The school is a 4-year degree-granting institution of higher education. We grant Bachelor of Fine Arts degrees in 10 disciplines: fine arts, painting, sculpture, graphic arts, crafts, metal, ceramics, glass, and fabric design, industrial design, advertising design, and photography.
What about the number of students attending the school, Mr. Meidner?
We have at the present time 336 full-time students, 170 part-time students, 240 evening students, and 80 special students.
You also grant some special degrees, do you know?
Yeah. We offer our students the academic courses in English, social and natural sciences, and art history through our general studies and art history department. The school is accredited by the National Association of Schools of Art.
Very good indeed. Mr. Meidner, What are your future dreams and plans for this school?
To offer Detroit, Michigan, and the Midwest one of the finest art schools in the country.
Thank you very kindly. Thank you for joining us on this visit through the art school of the Society of Arts and Crafts, or as it will soon be called, the Center for Creative Studies, the College of Art and Design. And we would especially like to thank the faculty and the students for helping us put this program together. Good night.